special, by the way, about vaccines to separate fact from fiction and to encourage Americans to get a shot. The event will feature appearances from President Joe Biden, along with former President Barack Obama and First Lady Michelle Obama. Actor Matthew McConaughey will interview Dr. Anthony Fauci. Additional special guests include Billy Crystal, Ellen Pompeo, Jennifer Lopez, Sterling K. Brown, Ken Jeong, and more. Hour-long special starts at 7 p.m. Eastern on NBC. NBC News medical contributor Dr. Vin Gupta also will make an appearance in that special, and he joins us now. Dr. Gupta, it's great to see you. You've been treating COVID patients for, I guess, about 14 months now since the beginning of all this. I'm sure it feels like a lifetime to you. I'm just curious about your reaction specifically to Congressman Jordan yesterday, but more broadly to the attacks on people like Dr. Fauci.
Good morning, Willie. Good to see you. You know, I actually grew up in what is Congressman Jordan's district in Ohio, and my parents are still there. So it's partly just embarrassing to see that behavior towards Dr. Fauci from a personal lens. And I will say that this distortion of personal freedom isn't new, as you, Mika, and Joe have been talking about. And really what we should be keying on is this notion that personal freedom is the ability to live a long, healthy life. And yet that has been distorted constantly for the last 14 months. So it's disappointing. To answer to the congressman's question, since he didn't let Dr. Fauci respond to it, Dr. Fauci is talking about cases, and that's certainly one metric. Another metric, Willie, is just looking at hospitalizations, because less people, as we get vaccinated, are going to want to get tested. They're going to say, why do I need to get tested? And so hospitalizations per 100,000 individuals, looking at the stress in our health systems, is going to be really vital for us to know that we can safely start opening up as hopefully 75 to 80% of the country gets vaccinated when they're eligible. So that's also going to be a really vital metric as behaviors change about testing.
Dr. Gupta, it's Walter Isaacson, and I want to thank you and NBC for doing this special this coming Sunday night, because as Anthony Fauci said, one of the big things is getting people comfortable with vaccines. I mean, here in New Orleans, we're doing a program called Shots for Shots, meaning you go to a local bar, there's music, you get your shot, and you get a free shot for it. That's probably not the best way to have all of America vaccinated. The best way is to have people feel really comfortable with this vaccine. So tell me, what can you do when the Johnson & Johnson news comes out, the AstraZeneca news comes out, not to convince the people who are dedicated anti-vaxxers, but just the normal person saying, is this safe or not?
First of all, it's an honor, Mr. Isaacson, just to share a panel with you. So thank you for that question. This is what I'll say. I think the CDC really needs to come out quickly, and I'm sure they will, with narrower guidelines on who can actually receive the Johnson & Johnson vaccine safely, modeling what the EU regulators did with the AstraZeneca vaccine, stipulating a certain age requirement. There's a lot that's uncertain. We're dealing with 6 to 8 cases. This is an exceptionally rare side effect, if this is truly linked to the Johnson & Johnson vaccine, this blood clot in the brain. But it's going to be hard to navigate, separate reality from perception and optics. And so I do think stipulating who can and cannot safely receive the Johnson & Johnson vaccine, given the uncertainty, is going to be really vital. What I'll also say is I'm hearing a lot from younger demographics that they're worried about the vaccine causing sterility. Or if I've had the infection in the past, I don't need the vaccine itself now, because prior infection is going to protect me. These are the key themes that I keep hearing over and over again. So I think we really need to tackle those as well, while also finally emphasizing the fact that all these vaccines, including Johnson & Johnson, are nearly 100% effective at keeping you out of the hospital. The data is amazing at how effective they are. We really need to lean into storytelling, and that's what I've been trying to do.
Dr. Gupta, this is Gene Robinson. Are we going to likely, those of us who have been vaccinated, are we likely going to need booster shots or subsequent vaccinations in a year or two? And how do you envision that working out in terms of how much take up you need of the population to keep the immunity going?
You know, Eugene, I think at 6 months, this is what we know. At 6 months, when Pfizer checked in on those individuals who are in their phase 3 trial who received the vaccine, at 6 months, their antibody levels were through the roof. So they have extremely high protection. And what does that mean at a year? Well, we don't know for certain, but it is very, very suggested that at a year they're going to still have strong protection. I saw the Pfizer CEO come out and say, well, you're probably going to need a booster shot in about, who knows, anywhere from 6 to 12 months. I think that's some degree of speculation here. I love what Dr. Kessler said, that the government is planning potentially for distributing a booster, but we don't know if we need it yet because all the vaccines, Eugene, let's be clear, still protect against all the variants when it comes to hospitalizations and deaths. And that's the only thing that really matters. In terms of uptake, if it's determined that we do need a booster, we're going to need the same uptake for the booster that we need for the original vaccine.
All right, Dr. Vin Gupta, thank you so much. And
hey, thanks so much for watching our YouTube channel. You can follow up on today's top stories and breaking news or catch up on your favorite MSNBC shows all in one place. Download the NBC News app today.